Ambiguity, the word that confuses anybody who implicitly sees what is going on or hears a version of events that has occurred. There are so many things about this case that makes Devyn Michaels seem guilty as sin. You have the state in their opening arguments stating that they will show that Devyn Michaels was the last person to see the victim. The victim's wallet was found in her closet. Devyn Michaels has admitted to bashing the victim's head when he was at the house. So what more do you need? Well, there's one little detail that I believe could create enough doubt for an acquittal. Hi, I go by the name of Hines, your friendly neighborhood ketchup man, and welcome to Ketchup Court, where we are on a mission to make trials that just all for you. If you're unable to watch all 7 hours of trial, or you are unable to go to court to see the proceedings for yourself, we've got you covered right here. No law degree needed, just a dash of your sauce. As with all of our recaps, the trial guides of all the trials that I cover are on the Ketchup Court website. This is where you can get the timestamps for all of the key moments that I have seen on the feed that I'm watching. That's where you can get all of the facts of the case, as well as glean the importance of the witness. The links are in the description. Go check it out. Okay, let's get into it. Like I said earlier, the state has set up their theory that Devyn Michaels had wanted John out of the picture.
They then had these 2 children together. They separated, and there was a custody agreement that was ordered by the family court in which the victim had full physical custody of the girls. You will learn that the defendant was not happy about that situation, that the defendant wanted to have control of her girls, and she wanted to start a new life with Deviere, and that the defendant wanted John out of the picture. This is the future that she saw, that she wanted, and the only way to have that future was with John out of the picture.
That was their theory. Then the defense came in and said, disregard all of that. This is really what happened. Deviere, the son of the victim, that is your man. From the opening statements, the defense, through their lawyer, Robert Draskovich, who you may remember from the Robert Teller's trial, presented their theory of the case by asking a very simple question.
You have to ask yourself as these facts unfold, why is Deviere covering for Deviere? And why is Devyn covering for Deviere?
This immediately had my attention because I love cover-ups. This is basically third-party corporate theory 101 to build a story of why this person would want the victim dead and go from there. But there's an issue with this. Third-party theories are risky at best if not done right, and even though the defense does not have to prove their theory, a natural inclination that we all have, especially with the jury, they might believe that there have to be some substance to what they are claiming to at least persuade them to overlook the bad facts that are going to be created as the case progresses. However, this particular detail flips everything. He went on to say that Deviere was untruthful to the police.
Each of the interviews, both with Deviere and with Devyn, to get a feeling of what's going on. Like, what are the relationships? And they're misled time and time again by all parties. In this interview, the first of which that Deviere has, they're trying to get a handle on this idea of this marriage and the relationship. And they ask him, but you're saying that you guys are married more out of convenience, not like you guys actually love each other. His response, yeah, we don't. It's not like that. It's out of convenience. But you guys sleep in the same room? His response, no. He's asked, here, they're at the home. His response, no. Are you guys intimate at all? His response, no.
This is basically something that we have not heard unless you've been following from the pre-trial and stuff. We essentially have the love triangle. So before we get to that detail that flips everything, we have to know what is actually going on here and the background of the case, essentially. So Devyn Michaels has been charged with second-degree murder for the killing of her husband. And one thing that really made this trial gain a bit more popularity, at least that's where I first saw the trial, is where in an hearing,
they should not be able to do it, and they have. And for you to be able to look me in the eye knowing that the things are altered and
You pled guilty, man.
Miss
Still-
Michaels, you are not to address the state.
I don't know how to face this.
All right.
It's just, this wouldn't be appropriate.
I completely understand.
Let's go to trial.
Mr. Giordani. All right. Ms. Michaels, you understand Mr. Giordani says that he's willing to let you out of your plea and he's willing to try this case.
Anyways, a lot of the background is usually covered in the opening statement, so we'll just focus on that. But like I said earlier, there is one single detail that could just basically save Devyn Michaels. And that detail is Deviere being kicked out of the house. Sure, the defense presented that Deviere was tech savvy and that he had knowledge to remove all of the cameras because of his extensive experience working with DVR systems, installing cameras, all of those things. That is all well and good. But what is the knock-on effect of this little detail of Deviere being kicked out of the house have on the trial? And this really perked up my eye because there's a lot of conflict there. And the reason why I highlight this is because it's enough to cause reasonable doubt, which is what the defense is essentially trying to do. Why on earth is Deviere being kicked out of the house? Why would he be kicked out of the house? Why are they even married? What happened between Johnathon and Deviere? Did Devyn cheat on Johnathon with Deviere? Did Johnathon find out about an affair? All of this is extremely key to putting all together that main theory of Devyn is covering for Deviere. Therefore, we have to go into Deviere's testimony, who testified on day 2. But before we do go into that, I just want to give a quick 5-second ad for my channel. Please sprinkle your DNA all over that like button if you found this video to be of value for you. Let's keep this case alive, and now let's get back to figuring out what the hell is going on with this particular case. Okay, so Deviere took the stand on day 2 to set the tone of what we are essentially about to head into with this whole love triangle thing. However, to understand his testimony and what is that importance of putting him on the stand, we have to go over the witnesses that took the stand really quickly before he did, so that we can see the foundation that has been set already. Both the first responding officers, Marquis Cooper, as well as a sergeant. I don't really know the name of the sergeant because there were issues with the stream. That's neither near or there, but they were the first 2 to respond to the crime scene, and both had testified to a strong smell of chemicals.
Was there anything you noticed that you smelled when you were inside the room?
Well, initially, but we didn't know what it was until later, but you could kind of taste and smell like a little burning that's not common walking into people's houses.
So you described it as a burning, like a chemical burning smell, was that right?
Yeah, like you could kind of taste it a little bit and you could definitely felt it in your nostrils. But it wasn't really strong when we first went in. As strong as it seemed like it got stronger the longer we were there.
Stephanie Wilson, who was the crime scene technician, essentially testified to this.
Did you smell anything while you were in the scene?
It was overwhelmingly, the chemical smell was overwhelming, burning our eyes, burning our nostrils. It was overpowering, the chemical smell that was coming specifically from this area. That smell was present throughout this room, but the closer you got to this area of the victim, when you walked around the foot of the bed and came towards this area, it was overpowering.
All of these testimony basically suggests that the crime scene had been cleaned up because Stephanie Wilson and all the other officers, they all testified to there being no blood splatter on the wall, there being nothing of the sort where you would expect that after a decapitation. All they testified to was a massive pool of blood on the bed where the body was found without the head. With all this foundation being laid, this just suggests that all of this was methodical, and whoever did this literally knew what they were doing. And that's where it's frankly odd that not only is Devyn being accused, as she just looks as the most unlikely person to carry this out with such precision and such wherewithal of knowing exactly what she's doing, especially without a criminal history. But also, even more absurd is the fingers that's being pointed at Deviere. Not only this, we also heard from Nicholas Papach, who was one of the detectives that arrived at the scene. He said that he showed up a bit later than compared with the other detectives. That could be crucial later on, no idea. But nonetheless, he basically arrived at the scene and interviewed Devyn Michaels, and he basically said that he learned that Devyn went by the name of Nikki, and he just had to figure out who it was, and he ended up concluding that Nikki was Devyn Michaels. The audio of the interview with Devyn Michaels was played for the jury, where we could essentially hear Devyn basically saying that Johnathon was with his new girl and had thrown his engagement ring to the ground.
His ring, he actually threw his engagement ring in the trash last night. So he said it's done, he's 100% done, and he wants to have a family with the girls and everything, but we're not driving back and forth. Yeah.
Then we heard that Devyn herself say that her and Johnathon were trying to keep the family together, and they weren't physically intimate, that she was married to Deviere.
The girl is supposed to pick up this car over here.
His ex-fiance.
They were supposed to get married?
Yes, sir.
When did they break up?
They broke up, I want to say May.
Of this year?
Yes, sir.
You know why they broke up?
She was trying to get back with me, and she moved all of her stuff out. She tried to come back. It just, from what he said, he'd rather try to make it work with me versus being with her.
And trust me, I want to make a meal of this particular part of the testimony and the ordering of the witnesses by the state. However, that's for another video when all the facts are in and handed over to the jury. It only got more ambiguous when all the photos of the items collected from the crime scene were shown to the jury and entered into evidence, including photos of notebooks or with writing of "you broke my heart" and "never again." I'm of course skimming, but those were the little details, the pertinent information that was just screaming at me as all these materials were being introduced into evidence.
You would testify that these were recovered at the Porcupine residence?
Were those ones that we were just going over?
Correct. Several of them, correct?
Correct.
You reviewed these in preparation for your testimony today?
I did.
Would you agree with me that these appear to be entries into a diary, perhaps?
I'd say like a journal of sorts.
Okay, fair enough. And did these writings contain dates that you recall?
I don't recall seeing dates.
Okay. So in reference to the contents of these, you can't give us any indication as to when they were written?
No.
Months before, years before, fair to say?
That's fair assessment.
In fact, you have no idea where these were authored, correct?
No.
Are you aware of how long the occupant, or first of all, who owned this home?
Legally, I don't know exactly who owned the home, but I was told that Devyn and Deviere lived there.
Okay. Are you aware as to how long Devyn had been living there?
I am not aware of that.
Years, months, no idea.
So when we now got onto Deviere, you would naturally believe there would be at least some kind of resolve, some kind of resolution to the many questions that we have had, right? Right? Yep, you guessed it. None of it was adding up. Understand, Deviere admits to being in a relationship with Nikki, who is Devyn Michaels' porn actress name. If I didn't say it before, yep, she was a porn star. And the defense back in the opening statements made sure to highlight the excitement that Deviere felt when he first got with her in 2016. But I digress. Deviere testifies that he was 19 when he got in a relationship with Nikki, whilst she was still married with Johnathon, who is his father. This is just so weird. He also testifies to how his father had not found out about him and Nikki being together, and he gave testimony about how Nikki had essentially had him move from California, where he was living, to Las Vegas, telling him that she was pregnant and he had to move to Vegas or she was going to have the baby. According to Deviere, Nikki had essentially told him that she had the abortion. However, there was zero documentation shown to him about this. That may become later on, which is why I've highlighted it here on this video. But this next testimony by Deviere, in my eyes, shifted the momentum in this trial.
Night of August 6th, you get home from work. Do you remember a point in time where you saw your dad at the Porcupine Rim address?
Yes, sir.
Describe that for the jury.
So I just got off of work. I was helping with the girls with their homework, and I believe I went into the garage and I saw my father bringing over a bunk bed and a desk for the girls, and his back was turned to me, so I closed the garage door.
So you didn't talk to him?
No, sir.
How was your relationship at that point in time?
We hadn't talked for a while.
At some point prior to that, had he learned that you had actually married Nikki?
Yes, sir.
How was that conversation, or if you had a conversation about it?
He sent me a text message asking or saying, I don't know what you're doing, but it's not right. And I responded with half of what you know is true and the other half isn't.
Okay.
Immediately questions arise. What could this possibly mean? Why did Deviere and Devyn even get married in the first place? Immediately, the defense made Deviere silent, and I'm not joking. He literally could not answer the question when it was posed to him.
You had testified today, fair to say, for the first time, that you had a relationship with your wife that went years back.
Yes, sir.
You'd been asked that by a lot of people, correct?
Yes, sir.
You'd been asked that before under oath, correct?
Yes, sir.
But you didn't tell the truth, did you?
And also another detail. He agrees with the defense line of questioning, saying that, yeah, Johnathon was actually moving him out of the house.
Why was he moving out of the other house? And you said, because they all they do is scream and yell. When I was over there, my grandma would go downstairs at 6 in the morning yelling at him for the car payment, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you also say, I think my grandma was kicking him out, correct?
Yes, sir.
10 by Detective Ozawa, bottom of the page. Okay, so then, how long has, I guess, it been planned for them to move John in over here? Your response, I have no idea. Like, it was ran by me that, because we all know how he is. And it's like, okay, if he's moving in here, and if he's going to be homeless, I get it. I can move out and go somewhere, because I have a legitimate job, correct?
Yes, sir.
So this isn't some one-off. You repeatedly confirmed to Detective Ozawa that your dad was moving in and that you were moving out, correct?
Yes, sir.
So what's exactly not adding up in all of this? It does make sense why he would lie to the police when they were interviewing him on the day of the murder, because he would be embarrassed in that moment and later on will come clean in court, as the defense was trying to propose in regards to his grand jury testimony, trying to frame it in a way to say that he was telling the truth only when he had assurances from the investigators that he was not going to be in trouble. In my opinion, it's actually normal for the process to happen, not necessarily because he has just got assurances that nothing was going to come to him. However, what's not normal is the pause about not telling the truth in previous hearings about this same fact. I'll give a bit of grace though, because nothing has been presented so far to highlight why this is an inconsistency or the context behind this inconsistency, but this is just where we are at the moment. Also, I want to talk about Robert Draskowicz for a second, the defense lawyer. I said earlier, he represented Robert Tellez, the politician that was found guilty of the gruesome murder of German, forgot his name, damn, I'm not great with names. Anyways, he was found guilty and convicted for the murder of investigative reporter. The point I wanted to make in regards to Robert Draskowicz is because I did actually admire his lawyering in that case. I really admired how he was able to score so many sustained objections. He knew what he was doing, and to be quite fair, I do have to say that he did navigate that case with a lot of grace. However, this particular case, I feel like he may have overpromised, because we just heard audio of Johnathon throwing his engagement ring to the floor, Deviere getting kicked out of the house. We just heard that testimony coming out, Deviere getting kicked out of the house from Devyn's own mouth. And also the fact that Johnathon and Devyn were in a committed relationship, and we also heard that her and Johnathon were not even intimate physically. There is so much in my head that I'm just wondering, this just goes against your theory, because you said that they were having a happy marriage, and is the relationship with Deviere that was on the rock, that was for show and not really anything serious. And now we're seeing two contrasting stories where one side is saying this and the other side is saying that. But I just think that there is too much here to chew on. There is just too much here to just eat at once, because it's just so convoluted. Maybe, just maybe, those writing on those notes, let's say it belongs to Devyn. Let's say that that's the case, and she found out that he has gone back to his ex-fiancée. Then she wrote all of this. All of this in a way kind of shows why Devyn and Johnathon may have had problems in their relationship. And like Devyn was trying to say to Detective Papage that they were just trying to patch things up in their relationship, perhaps that's the context that we all need. And there you have it. Those are the key players that I think are going to shape this trial. We have Deviere, who is the son of the victim. Then we have Devyn Michaels. We heard her on the audio. And then we have the name Yoko being mentioned frequently. So all of these people could be very important as the case continues, because these are the three names that has been recurring, and they could make or break this particular case. I don't usually predict outcomes, and I'm not going to try to predict what the verdict might be. That's not my job. But I am going to predict that the defense might recall Deviere to the stand. I feel like it's huge for them to not try to find out essentially what he meant when he said to his father, Johnathon Willette, that he does not know half of the truth and half of it is false. He does not know of that. So they might recall him to try and go into that part a lot more after more evidence has been presented. But what do you think? What is your theory? What are your thoughts of the case so far? Tell me if you like my theory. Tell me if you think I even know what I'm talking about. Tell me where I'm wrong in the comment section below. If you made this far, thank you so much for watching. You truly have great taste. Consider supporting the channel by becoming a tastemaker and be part of our great community here on YouTube by hitting that join button, or you can support by other means. The links are in the description. Every little of your support does go a long way to helping. If you got a taste for the law, you're already one of us. Make it official and join the Tastemakers today. Daisy Link, a tragic case of domestic violence on trial. We have covered this case extensively, and you can find the playlist that should be coming up on your screen right now. I go by the name of Hines, your friendly neighborhood ketchup man, and this has been The Ketchup. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.